Good evening, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the Denver Public Library. My name is Amy Delpo, and I oversee the library's vision and strategy for serving adults, which is you all. And I have the great pleasure of having Jesse De La Cruz and Alana Boardman on my team, and they put together this amazing program for you tonight. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about the library before we begin, do some housekeeping, and then we'll bring out our panel, which I know is the reason you're here. The work of my department is really about creating opportunities for adults across the city to learn, connect, and experience the library in meaningful ways. That includes programs like this one, where literature, ideas, and conversation come together, and the library becomes not just a place to visit, but a place to gather, to think, to connect. Thank you for being here tonight. It's really amazing to see all of you here on a Friday night. And I always say our programs are only as good as the people who come out and participate in them, so I'm very excited to see what happens tonight. Battle of the Books is one of our favorite programs because it celebrates something deeply personal. Not just books we enjoyed, but the books that changed us, the ones that shifted how we see the world, how we see ourselves, or what we believe is possible. The books that we still think about years after we read them. All of this programming, this battle that's coming up, all of this is happening at a moment when libraries and other institutions across the country are facing censorship, challenges to intellectual freedom, and shrinking resources. We continue to show up as a civic space where people can gather, ask questions, and engage in ideas freely. This space, yes, thank you very much. So we also have to thank you, especially because this space, this program, everything we do is only possible because the people of Denver support us. You support us at the ballot box, you support us through different initiatives, you support us by coming into our spaces, and we really appreciate that. Initiatives like Strong Library, Strong Denver, Elevate Denver, and the Rise Bonds have been able to transform our spaces, like this beautiful space that we're in right now, and expand access across the city. So programs like this one tonight are a direct result of voters like you and people like you. Okay, so now for the housekeeping. If this is your first Denver Public Library event, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here. If you do not have a library card yet, you can go get one. We have some librarians sitting at a table out there, and everybody is always welcome at everything we do with a card or without a card. But if you do have a card, first of all, it's fun. We have cool designs. But second of all, it gives you access to certain things online and different things that we're doing. So I would go, when you're on your way out, chat with the librarians about getting a card. Tonight, we're going to be using something called Slido for audience voting, so keep your phones handy. Your vote is going to determine which book takes home the title. And then this is kind of the annoying part, but we are going to send a survey after tonight, and I really want to reassure you, we take an iterative approach to all of our programming. We're always trying to make them better, and so when we get surveys, I promise I'll read them, Jesse will read them, we will read them, and that is how we will make things better, exciting, and give you exactly what you want from your library. So please take the survey. And that's it. That's all my housekeeping. So I'm going to introduce your moderator, your referee. I don't know what I should call you for tonight. Shanel Hughes is a Denver-based comedian, performer, and producer known for bringing sharp humor and a big heart to stages across the city. You may have seen her hosting MCA's Mixed Taste Intermissions, creating series like Cuffed and Cabaret and Funky Fresh Fridays, and leading the wildly popular trivia night, Black People Know Things. So we are thrilled to have you guiding us through this literary showdown. Thank you, everybody.
Well, now I have two mics. Which one do I, which one? Okay, I'm just kidding. You all didn't like, okay, all right, no. Hey, y'all, good evening. My name is Shanel Hughes. Give it up one more time for Amy. All right, I'm going to take a minute to introduce your panelists tonight. Aren't we so excited? Yes, yes. Now, before I get into that, I'm going to be, oh, yeah, come on out. Come sit down. I'm probably going to give, can y'all hear me? Or do I need to? Okay. I feel like Beyonce with this one, but I don't know. I don't think I should talk to y'all like this all night. Okay. All right, y'all. We're so excited to have y'all here tonight. And I know you're looking at the stage and you're like, oh, somebody's missing. It's true. Somebody had to call out tonight. So we're extending an offer out to the audience that if you would like to come up here and battle your book, I'm going to read the rules so you have time to think about it. I'm going to read how everything goes down, but if you're feeling froggy, come on up here and jump, okay? Because you could take home the prize. And we've never had somebody from the audience take home a prize, you know? You'll be the first one. It's Black History Month. Like, that's winning, okay? Under this administration, that's winning, so. All right, y'all. I'll introduce our panelists real quick. Then we're going to go over how everything's going to go. Then I'm going to reach back out and see who's feeling, hot in their pants to come on up here. I'm not going to stop because I'm annoying. But, all right, y'all. First up, we have Matangi Subramanian. Right?
Stand? All right, I'm going to stand.
You want to stand?
Yeah.
Are you doing your book now?
Am I supposed to?
No. I was going to introduce everyone and then do the rules, but thank you for being prepared. I appreciate that. Next, we have Stephen Dunn. And last but not least, we have Jovan Mays. All very brilliant people. I'm honored to be on the stage with all of them. We were backstage, and they were talking about all the books they wrote, and I was like, oh, okay. I write comedy, and they didn't think that was as great as. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. Javon said nobody said that. He's like, my reputation matters, okay? Okay, we're going to go over the format of the show. Now, remember, still looking for a fourth contender. Okay. So first, each panelist is going to talk about their book for 7 minutes, 4 to 7 minutes. They're going to tell us why this book changed their lives and why, if you read it, it'll change your life as well, okay? After one panelist goes, then the other 2 or 3, because it's going to be one of y'all, they're going to have a 1 to 2 minute rebuttal. So during this rebuttal, you'll be able to ask questions, challenge the book, talk a little stuff, This is where things get sassy. Nice sassy, but still a little sassy, okay? After that, each panelist is going to have, after we do the rebuttals and the intro, each panelist is then going to have 1 minute to defend their book, just the last final line, last final sway, closing arguments, if you will. And then we'll get into voting. So as Amy mentioned earlier, there'll be it's like a little website called Slido. We're going to put up a QR code, and then you're going to scan it and use that to vote which book you think is the greatest tonight. Sounds good? Yes. Yes. I like this. We're going to have a lot of fun, I think. Okay. Anybody feeling froggy? Oh, okay, nope. Somebody volunteered somebody. They said no. I'm not going to get in a fight tonight. Oh, yeah! This is like the Wheel of Fortune. Come on up here. Would you like to tell us your name, please?
Sure. My name's Lisa.
Lisa. Lisa. Just Lisa, no last name. I like that. Okay. So as I said, we'll be getting into, let's see. I guess we'll see who would like to go first. Lisa, how you feel? You need some time? Lisa is starting her month. Okay, like Lisa. Okay, Lisa. It's real. Okay, Lisa, I'm going to give you, oh, they gave you a mic. That's very generous. I'm going to give you 4 to 7 minutes. You'll tell us the name of your book, why you love it so much, and then everybody will have a couple questions. Sounds good? Good.
Okay, so the book that I'd like to promote is called James by Percival Everett. Um, if you haven't read it, you absolutely should because it's phenomenal. I didn't have anything prepared, so I'm just going to kind of talk for a few minutes on it. But if you haven't read it, this is a book that's written from the perspective of Jim, who was Huck Finn's compatriot in his escape, from I can't remember where it was, but they get on the river and they're running away. And Jim in the original story did not have a voice. He was pretty much a blank character. He kind of was just a person who was there because he was, with Huck. But what Percival Everett does with James is truly, truly amazing because he gives him a name, a real name, not some moniker, and he gives him an interiority that is amazing. And I think, when I first started reading the book as a white person, I was like, I'm not quite getting what he's putting down here, because this didn't actually happen this way. It couldn't have. And I realized I was reading it wrong. I was like, no, he's giving this man a voice that he would never have had at that time, an interiority, a philosophy, and a way of looking at things. And I thought that one of the most amazing things about James was how he became an adult in a way that he had not been in the original story. He was actually mediating for Huck, telling him not to do things. He actually introduced him to this, beautiful intellectual subculture that existed in this world for black people, even among the slaves, And I thought it was just an incredible twist on a story that was written from a white point of view, very strongly. And he just took it, he twisted it, and he ran with it in the most beautiful and amazing way. And it moved me as a person. And so if you haven't had a chance to read it, I would highly, highly recommend James by Percival Everett.
It was a strong start. Are you a plant? Just kidding. No. DPL plant. No. Okay. Now it's time for the rest of our panelists to ask any questions, challenge, agree, whatever feels right.
Thank you for doing that just right off the rip. That's pretty cool. Yes, I do agree. I haven't read it all yet, but I've read some of it and I know. So my question is, what was James's name and
Jim.
What was his full name? That's my rebuttal. You don't have to say that.
They're getting weird. Weird.
Oh, yeah. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
I have nothing.
I have a question, but I'm afraid it's going to give the book away.
Okay.
So I'm going to try and ask it without. So there's 2 reveals. One is about Huck, and one is about Huck's relationship to James.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. Well, then never mind. I withdraw my question. I felt one of the reveals was very effective, and one of the reveals I was like, I'm not sure if that needed to happen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's been
You know what I'm saying?
It's been a few months since I read it. But,
Okay.
I just kind of had to come up with something to get started.
Okay. All right.
That's
All right.
what I did.
No, I appreciate that. I also think Percival Everett is a genius, and I know
Yeah,
this will probably
it's a
hurt my
brilliant-
chances of winning, but
It's a brilliant book.
The Trees is my favorite book by him. Just
Okay,
putting that
I
out
have to check that one
there.
out.
It's really good.
That was very great.
Thank you.
All right. I think I forgot to mention, at the end, we're also having a Q&A, right? We're having some questions? Nope. Oh, I thought questions were showing up on the screen. Okay, just kidding. Yeah, we're going to do it. We do what we want. It's Black History Month. Oh, do we have any questions from the audience? Okay. Okay. Were you all able to hear? Oh. No? Okay, next time we'll bring a microphone. That's my fault. She expressed that she also loved the book. I think we know who she's voting for, you know. So she she expressed that she also loved the book. So yeah, very endearing comments about the book and about reading it, especially during an important time such as Black History Month. Anybody else? Okay, let me come to you. I'm just gonna come over there. Everybody can see my outfit. Okay, Amy's gonna come.
I'm going to run it for you. Okay, raise your hand again, though. I can't remember who it was. Okay. Oh, what?
Yeah, thanks. What did you say? I said you can hold it. I can hold it. I've got the power. Lisa, how do you feel this book changed you?
Again, as a white person, you don't spend a lot of time thinking about slavery from that first person perspective, you know? And I really feel like that's what Percival Everett did for me, is he took me into that world and I lived in it with James. I lived with his subversiveness. I lived with his philosophy. I lived with his subversion. I lived with his, rejection of white culture. And one thing I absolutely loved about the book is it kept with that really good rule of show, don't tell, right? I wasn't told how James was feeling. I felt that too, you know? I felt his imprisonment. I felt his, perceived lack of worth with the broader society, even though he had interior worth, and he expressed that very deeply. So I just, especially, Black History Month, I think it's a great book to spend time with from that perspective.
Anybody else? All good? Y'all ready to move on to our next panelist? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, good, good. Okay, any volunteers or no? Okay, I'm gonna go to Stephen. He already has a microphone. The look on your face.
I'm black in here, some of my history.
Give it to us. Don't hold back now.
Okay, so the book that changed everything for me is Danielle Steele's Wanderlust. All right. So a lot of smart adults sort of dismiss Danielle Steele books as lowbrow trash. Not that I care. I just want to acknowledge that. Just for anybody in the room who thinks that, I just want to acknowledge that you suck. uh, so yes, but to me, Danielle Steele books are everything. I was a little kid who grew up in a small town in West Virginia. There was only 500 people, and we didn't have any libraries or bookstores. The closest bookstore and library was an hour away, but we had a grocery store, and Danielle Steele's books were always there. My mom went to the grocery store once or twice a week and spent 1 to 2 hours there, because that's what you do in a small town. You hang out at the grocery store and talk to people. And all I did was sit in the front on the floor by the big window and read Danielle Steele's books. And I read this book when I was 11. Every week, even the cashier gave me an old receipt for a bookmark, and for some reason, nobody bought the book. It was always there for me when I went back. So, and I opened the flap, and it says, Wanderlust is the story of Audrey Driscoll, orphaned young from Hawaii. Audrey has grown up caring for a eccentric millionaire grandfather and her demanding younger sister, Annabelle, who assumes she will always be there for them. Sheltered yet restless, responsible beyond her years, yet hungering for experience, Audrey is hopelessly bound until she herself makes the daring decision to leave. As the 1930s unfold, alone, camera in hand, she will shock friends and outrage family as she plunges headlong into the wider world. Crossing the Atlantic aboard the luxurious Queen Mary, Audrey meets James and Violet Hawthorne, who will draw her into a sophisticated circle of artists and expatriates. And it is they who will introduce her to Charles Parker Scott, in whom Audrey will come to recognize a twin soul, a man propelled by relentless curiosity and driven by conflicting needs for intimacy and independence. I felt like Audrey. I didn't have an eccentric millionaire grandfather, but I was responsible for a lot, like shoveling all the coal and keeping the furnace going for the entire winter. This book showed me I could dream. It showed me I could get away. It showed me I could also be an artist with relentless curiosity. And guess what I did? I made the daring decision to leave West Virginia and travel to a lot of places in the world, and came to know that traveling itself kept making my curiosity even more relentless. I became this book. But the only downside of this book is that it also made me a little bougie. I was buying too many things I couldn't afford in my early 20s, like some hand-carved mahogany statues that nobody needed, because it's what Audrey would have done. The point is, this book put me into the world and helped me become the person I was going to be. Thank you.
That was beautiful. I don't even want to allow a rebuttal, but I will. All right, panelists.
Okay,
2 minutes.
I have a question. So this took place in the 1930s?
Yeah.
So like there's like a class war aspect going on here then. Yeah. So how did that work out for you? Did you join the class wars? What happened?
Did you have a question on it, Bob?
Just saying.
I sort of like read the book maybe like how you'd read it as a privileged person and didn't care about the class war. Yeah. I was privileged in my mind.
I was just curious if that receipt is still in there.
No. I bought this book recently when I knew I was doing this because I hadn't bought it, and it is the same one that came that I was reading. I mean, not the same book, but the same hardcover, the same.
Can I see it?
I was so happy to get this. Like, I cried when it came in the mail. I told my wife, I was like, I got this book, and it's the same one I used to read when I was 11.
Hey, can y'all just observe that Stephen matched his outfit to this book?
Audrey would do it.
Audrey would do it. Okay.
Oh, but now I just blanked on what it was. So never mind. Oh, is Danielle Steele one of those people who like? Okay, so I used to be really into Sweet Valley High, and then I found out that Francine Pascal, other people wrote her books. So did Danielle Steele write all of these, or is this? And also, how do I get a job writing Danielle Steele books? Is the real question here.
Supposedly she writes all her books.
Does she really?
Yeah, yeah. And
So
she
she's
has like
fast.
3 a year since the
Damn.
70s. Yeah.
So what are you gonna do when she dies? Are you gonna run out of books?
I want to buy her writing desk.
Oh.
If people have not seen Danielle Steele's writing desk, it's 3 of her books, like giant books stacked up, or 4, and that's her writing desk. She writes on her own books.
That is baller.
And she has
That is
the
goals.
best. She has the best author photos ever. Like, I don't care who your favorite author is. Percival Everett ain't got an author photo like Danielle Steele ever.
Can you hold it up for everyone to?
And this one is tame. Like,
This is what I thought I looked like in 1988.
she has one where she's laying on the back of her couch in her nice house with a giant painting of her behind her. It's like the best.
So would you say it's her humility that draws you to her writing?
Okay. One last question. How has Danielle Steele influenced your literary journey and your writing?
I think having fun with it too. So what I felt was fun reading her books, and sometimes I don't care about being a literary person. And I realized that fun and reading is fine, and that like if a book from a rich white lady can reach a little black dude in West Virginia in the grocery store, then like she's doing something right, you know, and she's having fun writing. So yeah.
The audience is ready. I already seen some hands. Oh, lots of hands. Okay, thank you for your help.
Do we have
I
time?
can,
Do you want to run? You want me to run? I'm going to do it. Okay, thank you. Okay.
So my question is, what did your mother say when she saw you reading Danielle Steele?
She just asked me about them. Like, she didn't say anything about it. I don't think there's anything inappropriate. Maybe like it's just stuff I wouldn't understand. So the inappropriate stuff I just wouldn't understand as an 11-year-old. But she would ask me like, what did they do in the book? Where did she go? And my mom liked to read too, and my aunt liked to travel, and she read these kind of romance type books too. So I talked to my mom about them and my aunts, and it was like, yeah, glad you're reading.
Was there other people? Great choice. I'm wondering if you have found that you seek romantic relationships similar to the character. What was his name? Alex? Independence and connection, or what?
Oh yeah, yes. A relentless curiosity driven by conflicting needs for intimacy and independence. Yeah, I have. I have. I was just talking on Facebook about a woman I met in Guam, and she drove me to the top of the mountain in her little car, and because it was romantic, and it was really nice and romantic, and I felt like Danielle Steele. But I woke up in the morning with mosquito bites all over my body. It was really bad. It was like the most cartoonish mosquito bites I've ever had. And she worked at the hotel, so I had to go down. It was like, hey, do you got some itch cream? Because I'm struggling. And she was like, I don't have any mosquito bites. And then she said, we don't have itch cream in Guam. I was like,
Are you ready for another question?
oh, yeah, if we have
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. One's a comment, and one is a question.
Yes.
How many times have you read the book?
3 times. Yeah.
Did you just read it again?
I did, yeah. I haven't read it since I was a kid, and I read it recently. I got halfway through it again. So, yeah, 2.5 times. Yeah.
So you got halfway through and you were like, ooh, maybe this isn't as good as I thought it was?
No, it's still good.
Okay.
I think it feels better than what I thought it would because I know more. I know what a Queen Anne's cherry is now. My bouginess has gotten, so now I understand.
I feel like this is just a conversation between us now, and I've taken over. But I wanted to talk about the announcement recently of the end of mass market paperbacks, which that would have become, and that they will no longer be selling them at grocery stores and Walmart and all those sort of things because they're going to stop selling them, period. And I just want to say some boy in West Virginia needs it to continue to happen so that somebody can keep reading those books because it matters.
I didn't know that. Wow.
You could go to your library.
So, my question for you hopefully is not too complicated, but I feel like you've talked a lot about how your life and kind of not necessarily upbringing, but your growing up kind of reflects on how you identify with the main character. But I'm curious if she has any personality traits or any experiences that deeply did not resonate with you, so kind of the opposite direction.
Yeah, I think she was cold in the book, but I mean, it was because of her upbringing. So, yeah, she was pretty cold, but then she didn't get warm until she left and started having adventures. So that was opposite from me, where like I didn't feel cold because I had a lot of friends and family in a small town, and we played a lot. It was just some of those like responsible for too much, or wanting to leave just because I was interested in leaving anyway and interested in traveling. So yeah, but it was her coldness, and I didn't have nice clothes then either. Yeah, she had a silk satin, a satin pink gown that she managed the household in, but I didn't. So yeah. I'm done.
Oh, Stephen announced his own doneness. Fine. He's not taking any more questions.
I'm taking up too much time.
Okay. Y'all feeling good? Ready for our next panelist? Yes. Yes.
Okay, who wants to go last? Do you want to go last? So I'll go next. Is that okay? Okay. All right. Okay, so my name is Mathangi Subramanian. I am a writer, and I am also South Asian, and I am the ex-wife, daughter, mother of immigrants. And I love being an immigrant. I think immigrants are hilarious. We are excellent cooks. We are very good dancers. We're responsible for a lot of art. We're just generally awesome people. Just, objectively. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And also to you. Thank you. But lately, when you turn on the news, that's not the version of immigrants you see. You see immigrants getting beaten up, getting arrested, getting deported. And I have really been craving stories about immigrants and media about immigrants that actually shows our whole selves and not just this tiny oppressive sliver of our experience. Which brings me to the book that I am pitching today, which I don't have with me, unfortunately, but it's called Kamala Knows Best, and it's by Farah Heron. And it is a love story, also a romance. And it is a love story between two South Asian Ismaili Muslim Indians who moved to Canada via Tanzania. So if you don't know what some of those words, well, if you do know what those words mean, then Ramadan Mubarak, because it is Ramadan. And if you don't know what those words mean, something that is familiar about the book is that it is a retelling of Emma by Jane Austen. And if you haven't read Emma, may I recommend Clueless, the 1995 remake of Emma, which is my second favorite retelling after this book, and which I snuck out of summer school in 1995 to see with my best friend. So I don't just love this book because there's like a happily ever after and people fall in love and there's like lots of Bollywood dances and then there are dogs. All the dogs are named after Jane Austen characters. So the main character's dog is Darcy, which is like very cute. But also because the character development is so great. And actually, Kamala, the main character, has a lot in common with Audrey. Audrey or Aubrey? Audrey with a D. Okay. So much like Audrey, Kamala takes care of everybody around her, and she feels like she has to be perfect, and she feels like she can't drop any balls that are in the air. And then she meets this man who she's known her whole life, So it's not a stepbrother like it is in Emma, which is super creepy. It's actually like an in-law. He and then also her dad and also her friends and also her community just end up loving her for who she is and not for all the things that she's done. And then she can like relax and like hang out with her dog Darcy and wear like her cute dresses, even though she's an accountant and she's supposed to be serious. She can dress like a 1950s housewife, even though she's really into Bollywood. So I don't really understand how that connects. But and at the end of the book, she gets to like rest and everybody just accepts her as who she is. And right now, I think that's like what we all need, right? To just be like accepted and loved as our true selves and not as whatever perception the media has of our identities, but just like as ourselves. So that's why thank you. Thank you in the back there. I see you. Thank you very much. And so that's why I would recommend Kamala Knows Best. It is basically Danielle Steele for the modern era. And we did not talk about this beforehand, and it is a little weird how similar our books are. But vote for mine because it's written by a brown woman. Thank you.
Rebuttal at your own risk.
So I'd love to know, from your perspective as an immigrant, especially from South Asia, what does this book explicitly reject that you would say is a common misperception about South Asian immigrants?
That's a very good question. Well, she is an accountant, but there are no engineers or doctors. Which I appreciate because I tried to be a doctor and then failed out of college. Mm-hmm. So I didn't fail out, but I came very, very close. I think it also, it's okay. So we're going to get deep here. Has anyone ever seen that Ali Wong movie, like the rom-com that she's in that's like all Asian? Yes, thank you, Ali Wong. 3 cheers for Ali Wong. So she talks about how when every single character in a book is like Asian or South Asian, then everybody gets to just be themselves and you don't have like the doctor and the engineer and the terrorist and because it's also a Muslim book, you know what I mean? And there are no terrorists, even though it's a Muslim book. Which is very annoying when that's the only Muslim character, and that happens. And everybody just gets to be different versions of themselves, and it like really looks like my family and all the crazy people we have. And there are a lot of doctors in my family, but there are also a lot of other kinds of people too. So I think that's the monolithic experience gets rejected. That was a very good question. Thank you.
What do you think of the idea, considering like this is a rewrite or you call it rewrite? Retelling. Okay, the criticism / idea that when people of color write books, like there's no need to retell white stories to make sort of original novels. So what do you think of that idea first and that criticism? And then do you think the pre-existing sort of white story of Emma does anything or filters the retelling of the book you're
Well, I just
reading?
want to start to say that I feel a little targeted because Lisa's book is a retelling of Huckleberry Finn. And you didn't ask her that question, but I mean, that's cool. That's cool, whatever. Also,
Yeah, you're right.
like, not to shame you publicly, it is Black History Month. But, I think throughout my career as a writer, I've been held to a much higher standard than like other white writers. And so I think we should all do whatever we want. That's what I think. But that was a very good question.
Audience. Okay, all right.
I was going to say, I explained it so well, there are no questions.
So I love Jane Austen as well, and I think Emma is a little bit of a hater. So my question is, because of that, what is your least favorite Austen retelling in the spirit of Emma being a bit of a hater?
Oh. I don't think I have one. I don't think I have a least this is really hard. I was gonna say Sense and Sensibility, but I stand Emma Thompson, so I can't do that one. Okay, on principle, I'm gonna say the British Pride and Prejudice because they colonized my ancestors, so therefore, I'm gonna put them as the least favorite. Thank you.
this is more of a comment and it's kind of silly, but thank you for mentioning Clueless. That's one of my favorite Jane Austen adaptations, and it's a seminal classic. So
Thank you. I
And I love
rewatched
Emma.
it, and it's one of the few movies I loved in the 90s that holds up.
I watch
You know?
it yearly.
It's
It's like one of my favorite movies.
See, you have one life. Like, I'm going to start doing that. That's amazing. Thank you for that comment.
You're welcome.
Sort of the flip side of Stephen's question, did you find that in the retelling, did it unearth something in the original that went hidden or wasn't very obvious before?
That's a great question. I love it. Everybody has such good questions today. I think when I read Emma, I loved it. I read it in like my early 20s when everybody around me was reading Austen. And I never made the connection that Emma was like this caretaker for so many people and was like a people pleaser. But then when it was that same character was put in like an immigrant body, I was like, oh, that's me. So that was a connection I did make before reading this retelling.
I hope you win. I mean, I like you too.
I actually might vote for some of the other books mentioned, but I hope I win too.
Is the story explicitly an Emma retell? Like, does everybody that reads that know that? And do you go into it knowing that? Or are you like, that was my personal insight, yo? Because I just read this book called The White Hot, and it's like if Siddhartha was like a Puerto Rican teenage mom. And I felt super smart when I figured it out, even though there's like a dead giveaway. Like, the principal goes like, you wrote this essay when you were in 9th grade called Siddhartha's a stupid ass motherfucker. Excuse me. But that's like how the book goes.
My ex-boyfriend's name was Siddhartha, and he was a stupid ass motherfucker. So
Yeah,
thank you. For
there you go. See? It's a given. But yeah, I felt like, oh yeah, I picked that up all by myself, even though there's like this total like flag waving going like, hey yo, think about Siddhartha now. So I finished the book, and on the back cover, like the little blurb is like, a modern feminist rage retell of Siddhartha. And I was like, oh, everybody knew but me. So did everybody know that it was Emma, or did you just figure that out?
Okay, so we are kindred spirits because I was like, oh my God, this is Emma. Nobody else gets it. Fully on the back of the book. Fully in the front matter, fully on the front cover, a South Asian retelling of Emma. Didn't see any of that. So it is explicit, but like you, I had a moment where I was like, I am the smartest person in the world. So thank you for sharing that story. I feel like we just made a connection there, so thank you.
That's good. That's real good. There are words on the covers of the books, y'all. Y'all are like, pictures. Ooh.
Well, it's not even like three of us write books here. Like, how would we know?
Yeah. Unless Lisa writes books.
I write documentation.
Okay, that sounds important. That sounds important. All right. Last but not least, we have Jovan.
This whole conversation has been really fascinating. I think that, I grew up with a pretty debilitating version of dyslexia, and so reading's always been a very interesting relationship, and so it's very interesting being in this space of conversation because I'm like, I would never yuck somebody's yum, so it's such a funny thing to kind of be a part of. So it's just a really, really interesting thing, but thank you so much for all your perspectives. The book that I brought today is a book called Electric Arches, and it's by a poet by the name of Eve Ewing. And this book came to me at a time where I was trying to explore what life would be like as a writer. I've traditionally operated as a performance poet, and I wanted to kind of see what people were doing to try to communicate in dynamic ways and text in ways that really resonated with me. And in a very weird way, I don't know, when you go to bookstores, the poetry book is always sort of this like kind of similar rectangle. And so This is how the dyslexic boy goes to the bookstore and buys things. I'm like, oh, but they're squares, and I like that a lot. And so my first introduction to Eve's work was actually this book, 1919. That's just a fantastic book. And it led me to a book that came out previously, which is Electric Arches. And I think what I've always struggled to kind of really get my head around as a creative who writes about the black condition is navigating hope. And I think during this time, I imagine Eve in Chicago, where that city always just seems to have such a spotlight on it in the conversation of black tragedy in a modern era. And then this book comes out in 2017. I'm just like looking at this list that I just kind of jotted down from 2014 to 17. Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Tamir Rice, Eric Harris, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray, Alton Sterling, Philandro Castile, all kind of before this next wave that followed. And I have always been an artist that kind of leans into the hurt. And I had never really been introduced into an artist that can navigate in some different ways. And so, ironically enough, this word keeps coming up here in this conversation. The word is retelling. And Eve, in their book, does this thing from a text standpoint where they write in the typical, print script, and then in the hand script. And the hand script is a retelling. There are several of these poems in this book, and I have minutes of time, so I'm going to share one with you. This one's called Four Boys on Ellis, a retelling. As I was getting into my car, I saw the lights flashing and four of them sitting on the curb. CPD stood over them and the university police were looking on. I drove up and pulled alongside and asked what was going on, if their parents had been called, and informed that they were being questioned. Their heads were down. One officer told me the youngest was 9 years old. He said they were suspected of stealing a phone. I asked if they were being arrested or if it was legal protocol to interrogate them without an adult present. Another officer began to yell at me, standing next to my car and shouting through my window. He told me to leave. I would not. That's the script. The retelling. I put the car in park and closed my eyes. I concentrated very hard, picturing the boys at home, eating cereal and watching Naruto. When I opened them, the police were shouting and jumping into the air, grasping at the boys' shoelaces as they drifted upward into the clear night. Their bikes went up there too, and they managed to climb atop them mid-air, which was impressive. They seemed to have forgotten the police and didn't notice me, only looking at each other and smiling and singing as they flew. Eve Ewing, Four Boys on Ellis. I think that throughout this book, this artist kind of makes this same move. And it's often when I teach poetry workshops, I try to challenge people with these poems to try to rethink the predictability of these situations. And I mean, how many times have you opened up a news article and seen unarmed black and you can already put the pieces together? Eve talks about this life living in Chicago, of riding her bike when she was a really little girl across the entire city, the flatness of the city, and being able to do that with their imagination still intact. And I think as we try to navigate times now, news cycles now that seem to be heavy, predictably awful, we need to remember the young person in us, the bicycle, and the possibility.
I'm using my rebuttal time, but this is not a rebuttal because that was beautiful. Thank you. My son is also severely dyslexic. And so I know one thing that dyslexic people struggle with is how to stay connected to the written word. So I'd love to hear not only how you stay connected as a reader, but how you stay connected as a writer with your condition.
The adaptives have worked really well for me. I think as a reader, the very early set, the vellum helped a lot, and being able to kind of see through opened up. But I didn't complete reading a chapter book until I was a sophomore in high school. And so it took a while for me to even experience, I guess, the joy that I feel like a lot of people experience as a reader. As a writer, one of the saving graces has been the voice to text. That helps a lot for me because the speed matches my mind. So, yeah. Don't hate on me right now, bro. Don't do it.
Damn, I was about to. With so many like serious social issues that need to be addressed, I think there's one you failed to address. It's like, how do you solve for the issue of putting these square books on your bookshelf? I can't figure it out.
I have they're deeper shelves. I don't know. They're deeper. They go deep.
Sorry.
That's what I get for asking you about the receipt.
I was actually going to ask if you've ever seen a round poetry book. So my rebuttal was no better. Sorry. How can you argue with Eve Ewing? You just can't. There's like nothing to rebut, I think.
Yeah.
Although Stephen looks like me.
Oh, I was thinking.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so you talked about Eve making the same move throughout the book, and that is what I heard. I understand of her work also, and I think what I heard, that move is humanizing a sort of like cold report and humanizing. Do you think any of the humanizing she does it misfire at all, or does it lose something from the factual to the humanizing?
There's a lot of placement strength of where these are spaced out. So a lot of times I think that's another smart thing she does. Poets often will put those poems that have similarity right next to each other, and so you can glaringly see a shortfall because of the proximity. The poems inside of Electric Arches, they're spaced and they seem to speak to the conversation that she's having at the time more eloquently. So I don't really stack them like that. I see them more in the context of the chaptering that they sit in.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, I wanted to ask you a real question since I asked you a fake question about the book.
I appreciate your candor, sir.
Sorry. Is Eve Ewing an influence of yours? And if so, how do you think she influences you?
Well, I think that, I have really wanted to open up a bigger career as an author, I guess. And I think it's very, everybody always tells you this, like, when you're a performance artist and they're like, well, your poems, just when we read them, it's not the same. And it's like, okay, well, how do I find ways to communicate in unique ways that do some of those things? And I think as an artist, she's definitely been a model on how to do that well.
I remember you said that we met up for coffee one time because I quote, I always think, because I've never heard anybody say it. You said, I'm trying to figure out how to take my poems from the stage to the page. And we were talking about how to make a book, and that's what you said. I'll never forget that you said that. And I always think about it.
Thanks, bro.
I think about it when I write too. It's like the opposite, since I may start writing first, and I'm like, well, how can I read this? And I think about what you were talking about in reverse. So thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Do you remember those children's books that had like the buttons on the side and you could like just hit those buttons? I want to do something like that one day. Do we do that?
So wholesome. I think we have some audience questions.
So one of the things that I heard or am taking away from the poem and the retelling that you shared is kind of one of our coping mechanisms for dealing with dark times, hard news, challenging situations, is to use the power of our imagination as a positive tool or as a positive coping mechanism. I'm curious if with all of the stuff that's been going on, all the essentially unprecedented news we are constantly being bombarded with, if you have sort of incorporated that tool of using your imagination for good, and if so, how?
No. I'm struggling. I'm struggling. I'm really, really struggling. And the way they just shift the news cycle on you so fast right now, it's just so hard to lean into something that feels like a safe zone. And it's, yeah, I'm challenged right now in trying to kind of configure that. I think, and, you know, the reality is so frontal. I teach, you know, and my school is 85% Latino, and trying to navigate the seriousness of like where we're at right now and where their families are at, it's just really hard to get accessibility to that section of my mind right now, but that would be lovely, I think, but some space and time. I think with Eve, you get this, you know, this repetition of history that I do think when I found the unfortunate repetitions in history, that gives me a little bit of space to start thinking a little bit divergent, but right now I'm not there. Thanks for the question. Great questions. Yeah. Is there an honorary award for great questions?
Yeah, we just decided to give you an award for great questions.
You're killing it.
Yeah, so as you were reading your poem, you know, I was thinking about other books that were kind of do a similar thing of like really illustrating such a strong visual and illustrating kind of like strong experiences and just kind of tying into it. So I'm thinking of like James Baldwin or like Du Bois and like those types of texts that really really illustrate like a strong experience. And I guess like thinking about obviously your collection of poems that you shared, your book, it's set in more of a modern day and it's also poetry. I guess what is it about the book that kind of demonstrated or like stood out to you more, resonated more with you, like with it being poetry or maybe the time period that it's set in? Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure, yeah. I mean, speaking of just kind of dyslexic things, poetry is just, you can sit with it for longer and you can gain comprehension in a shorter amount of time, which I think is something that I've always appreciated about it. I think in answer to the modern time thing, it was really just reading that book in the conversation of all that loss that I kind of had started with, that list of folks, really kind of helped me manage in that time. Ironically enough, the book of Eves that I read prior to that, 1919, that book navigates all of these poems that are written in response to the Chicago North Star newspaper from that time to kind of really kind of describe the Great Migration. And so I kind of went from a historical text to a modern text and really enjoyed both of those experiences with that artist. Yeah.
I'm just curious. I know that as a writer, it's a common sentiment that it is during like the darkest times of life, it's easier to express yourself or to feel like an influx of inspiration. Are you going through that as a Black writer with what we're facing right now, or have you find yourself stalling with being able to produce work?
I always wondered for like a lot of, you know, artists of color who you know, when your crew gets its spotlight of terror, you know, how you get to respond to it, and what that means, and then all of a sudden the books are going to sell more because of that spotlight of terror, and And in the black community, maybe right now our spotlight of terror is kind of dim because there's a spotlight of terror on somebody else. And so I struggle mightily in this time, just to sort of lean into myself to kind of be able to kind of cross over into other people's hurt and write from that space, which I do think it seems, obviously more authentic when it comes through mine. And I'm not saying that black folks ain't out here struggling right now, but I am saying that I'm listening a lot more than I'm writing right now. And I hope I have some more arrival here soon, but that's where I'm at.
Great. That was great. That was a great discussion. Now we're going to get into voting. Yes? So exciting? Oh, 1 minute final? My apologies. I'm just skipping stuff. I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to eat a TV dinner. Okay. Just kidding.
No, you're not. I'm with you.
I'm just kidding. Okay, now we're going to have from each panelist closing arguments, 1 minute or less, up to you, of why your book should win tonight. You have to sway the audience. If you have money, you can bribe them.
Well, I don't think I need to bribe anybody because James by Percival Everett is a truly amazing book. It's well written, it's interesting, it's fun to read, and it's a different, a truly unique perspective on a story that a lot of people were forced to read. So I would really encourage you to read James, not because you're forced, but because you want to hear from the perspective of a slave, and it really is very, very well done.
Yeah, I feel like right now I kind of got the record store deep rack pick. If you want to go to the B-sides, come on over to e-viewing. It's it's a really, really fantastic read. I gift these books often to my friends because I really feel like they're meaningful, and I hope and think that you'll get some joy out of them as well. There's a lot of them. There's more on their series that's really, really impressive. I don't know if you know, but he was a writer for Black Panther, the film as well. So just a great author to get familiar with. That's all I got.
Has anybody seen You've Got Mail? Anybody? Cool. All right. When Joe Fox comes into Kathleen Kelly's bookstore to shop around the corner, she tells him, "The world isn't driven by discounts. I've been in business forever. I started helping my mother when I was 6, and I watched her. She wasn't just selling books. She was helping people become what they were going to be. When you read a book as a child, it becomes part of your identity in a way that no other reading in your whole life does." And the good thing is, y'all, I'm saying this, not Kathleen Kelly. And the good thing is, no matter how old you are, you can always be a child when you read. Because being a child is having relentless curiosity and a deep love for wonder. Thanks to Danielle Steele, I know that.
I should have gone before you because that was really good. I feel like you should vote for Stephen. Okay, well, you should vote for my book because it is extremely joyful. It's the happily ever after that we all need right now. Because it's Ramadan, so we should celebrate our Muslim friends. And because it's by a Canadian. And at the end of the day, Canada is probably going to save us all.
Okay, now we're going to get into voting. So get out your smartphones. We're going to have a QR code pop up on the screen. I promise. We're going to do a little chatting. There we are. If anyone needs help, let us know. If you don't have a phone and you still want to vote, let us know. We'll send a pigeon over. Okay, that was, you all are focusing. I was just making sure. Well, okay. I hear you out, and I also feel like Stephen, you have to talk to Stephen about getting a phone. You know, you know what I'm saying, all in all. But I don't have. Oh, adult gave you a phone. Look at this. And another phone. We have another phone. Panelist name.
My name is like 12,000 syllables long. Nobody's going to put my name in. My book is Kamala Knows Best.
Thank you.
How do you vote? Can you vote for all of them? No. This is going great. If every, I like the two thumbs up, but I also want to say I'm up here too. So, and I got on cute outfit. Book while we listen. I'm okay on the chair. Thank you. I think if I was to choose a book, I can't do one that changed my whole life, because that's The Alchemist. We've all read that, and we've all got a mock tube tattoo. But last year, a book that I read that I really, really liked and just left a good feeling in my heart was called The Echo Wife, and it's a horror book because I love horror and thrillers, and it's about a woman who invents a very great technology to clone people. Then her husband steals the technology, clones himself a new wife, and that new wife kills the husband, and now both wives have to figure out what to do. And I like that. That was a really good book. What about you? What's your favorite book? You want to talk about it? I'm going to walk around because, okay, we're going to talk about a few of our own favorite books. So if you got one loaded up, now's your chance.
So I have a bunch of favorite books, but I would say one that I really enjoyed reading and listening to recently is called The Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. Yes, it's just a very pure of heart. So basically, there's this young witch who's very powerful that gets adopted into the British Witch Guild. Spoiler alert, she loses her powers. Don't worry, it's like in the first chapter. And she ends up taking over this inn for the next couple of decades or two. I think it's like 10 to 15 years or so. And during that time, she's looking for a way to regain her power. And the book has everything from really quirky characters to second chance romances with older people that I feel is not told enough in literature. In addition to also touching on a lot of kind of what it means to feel like you're on the outskirts of society and only accepted for what you can do for people. And so it's kind of this like story of growth and what it means to choose your family and choose the people that love you for you rather than what you can do for them. It's just very pure of heart.
Have you read her first book, The Society of Very Irregular Witches? Oh, it's even better. Yeah, it's even better. Same author.
Now we have a poll. Things have changed. So if you haven't voted in the poll yet, I've seen some other hands about favorite. Thank you so much.
I don't know if this is my favorite book, but I just thought about it. Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. Because it's a nonfiction, but it's written like a fiction. So if you don't like reading about real stuff, but you want to feel like you're in a novel, it's fantastic. And it's like also about this like really beautiful thing, but then all this dark stuff happens, and I don't want to give it away. But Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. You should read it. Okay.
Not during Black History Month, but no, I'm just kidding.
So I'll say This Is How You Lose the Time War, which is written by two people, Amal Motar, and I cannot remember the guy's name. Gladwell? It's a Glad last name. He's Glad. But it's like it's a novella, and it's an epistolary novella between two characters. So two authors wrote it, and they basically wrote letters to each other. And it's science fiction, and it's lyrical, like it's very poetic prose, but it's very lyrical and just gorgeous. And it's a novella. What are you doing? You have a couple hours. Take you not so long. It's great.
It's great. Okay, I'm gonna finish this side, then I'm gonna come over there. This is The Price is Right. Okay.
I can't pick a favorite book. I have too many, but I just finished this book with a book club, and I can't stop thinking about it. I really want to be a writer, and this has been a really cool experience for me. So I just finished Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin, and it's kind of the first time that I can remember as an adult reading a book where like the biggest part of the experience for me was the tension between the content and the narrative voice. And I think that book is beautifully written. It's intense. It's incredible. But if you read it really closely, like the way that the words he's using introduce a lot of tension with the actual content of the story in a way that I just am in awe of. And if I ever write anything that is a quarter as good as it, I'll be very, very happy. So read Go Tell It on the Mountain.
Yes, okay. Ooh, how am I gonna get to you? Okay, we'll figure it out.
In light of it being Black History Month and us being at the library, I just listened to an audiobook on the Libby app that was on some list that librarians prepare, but it is Harriet Tubman Live in Concert by Bob the Drag Queen. And it's pretty quick. It's a 4-hour listen, and it was a really great combination of educational and funny and quirky and had a good message. So I think it won some Lambda Awards or something, some LGBTQ honors or best books, and it's about Harriet Tubman speaking in her own voice about, and kind of a really fresh perspective on enslaved people's quest for freedom, and the main character looking for a way to find a way for himself to be free. He's a gay man, black man living in Harlem who was outed and had problems with his career as a rap record producer, and then he's been struggling. And then they talk about Ellen Craft. There's another good book about Ellen Craft, who was someone who made her way to freedom. And then I also learned something about the very first drag queen in this book. So it was a lot of fun, and it would be great for people looking for all kinds of stories.
Thank you. These are some great shares. We need a list. You can do whatever you want. It's Black History Month. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to reread this book I like called The Jesus Incident. Not religious, really. They went for a big Jesus metaphor, but it's a really weird sci-fi book, and it's just great.
Okay. That's it. Okay.
I've just finished The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. It depressed me a lot. It is existential, and most of all, it's hopeful at the end of the day. I relate to Lauren, and I'm reading The Parable of Talents to keep continuing the narrative. And I'd say that book has been insightful, and it's been comforting, even though it's really paralleling to today's climate. And I highly recommend it. The author does a wonderful job. That's all.
I can't ever get that book. It's always checked out. That feels racist. Am I right? Okay.
First, I'm going to say every month is Black History Month. And every month is a good month to read a Black author. Every month is a good month to invite a living Black author to your event, not just in February. I'll say that. My book is, so in about 1985, I was living in a small town in upstate New York, near New York City. And my mother was obsessed with this one author and really wanted to get this author's autograph, but for some reason didn't want to do it herself. So one day I was trying to hang out with my friends at the mall or whatever, and she grabs me and pushes me in the car, and we drive to this town called New Rochelle, and she pulls up in front of this house, and she's like, and she gives me the book, and she says, "Okay, just go knock on her door and get her autograph." And I was like 15 years old, and I'm like, this is like lady writing. I don't want anything to do with it. So I refused. I wouldn't get out of the car. That was my one opportunity to meet Toni Morrison. We were actually in front of her house. So my book is Beloved by Toni Morrison. That is the book that I read much later on that taught me that I could write our stories. I could write the interior stories of Black people in any way I wanted and really have the freedom to be, who I wanted to be on the page.
Should we do one more? Are we done? We'll do one more because, oh yeah, this is where I'm going.
My book is The Wild Robot, and it's about this robot who was being carried on a ship, and then it crashed, and then it landed on an island, and all the animals started liking it.
One thing really quick. So when I send out the survey, I'll go through the video here and I'll do a list of all the books we mentioned tonight. So if you guys want to reference them, you can click on our catalog or, have them if you want to buy them in a bookstore. Jesse, can I be a little self-serving? Can we all give our book titles too? Of course. Okay. All right, Javon, you have to start because then.
The Great Boxyscape and Pride were my 2 books.
I wrote a book called Wanderlust by Danielle Steele. No, my books are called Potted Meat. It's about West Virginia, and another book called Water and Power. And I was in the Navy for 10 years, so I got a bunch of interviews from people and wrote about that. And then I have another novel called Tannery Bay, which is a co-written novel with Katie Jean Shingle.
So you don't read my first book. It's called Bullying: The Ultimate Teen Guide, and it's a textbook about stopping bullying. But the title sounds like it teaches you how to bully. But don't read that one. My second book is called Dear Mrs. Naidu. It's a middle grade book, and my third book is A People's History of Heaven. And in November, my book Our Periods Ourselves Are coming out. It is a social justice guide to menstruation.
I started reading that book because I'm going to blurb it. The menstruation. Yeah, I'm going to blurb that book. It's really good. So I was like, oh my God. And I said I was going to blurb it. She was like, it's about menstruation. Are you sure you want to do this? I'm like, yes, men should be reading books about menstruation and supporting these books. So yes, I'm excited.
Thank you so much. I'm a big fan of Stephen's books too, just so you know. And I will be a big fan of Javon's books now too.
Me. It's me. It's Black History Month. Okay. We have I don't think this went how we thought it was going to go, right? Like, everybody was like, James, we love James. And then they were like, actually, we love Danielle Steele. And then Electric Arches took the win. Yes. Look at this. Congrats, Jovan. Congrats. We're done? All good? Thank y'all so much for coming out. Have a great night. Have a great rest of the winter. We can make it. And we'll see y'all next time. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. We don't care.